Oh, good evening. Good evening. Happy New Year's. It's January 2nd, 2023, 9:50 p.m. I'm at home in Brooklyn, New York. And yeah. um these last 3 days. These last 3 or 4 days were some trying days, but then you know what? I just keep reminding myself that um, I've already been verified that I am no longer of this world. I have been chosen to be above the world at this point. Because God only allows specific people to go through specific things in this world for a reason. And though, I mean, not to weigh my accomplishments in any particular way. For the most part, I think I do pretty good by God. Uh, I've always been, even the handlers say it through the V2K. He's a respectable dude, though. I've always been a good-hearted person. Always, never really intentionally try to cause harm to anyone. Never really. I don't start anything. I know one thing. I don't start no problems with nobody, with anybody. Um, I always pay people back if I owe them. um, you know, and if it deems necessary, I'm willing to step in and help someone. You know, it's in times of trouble. Yeah, I've put myself out there before, but you know, what I really wanted to talk about in this video was the I seen this video earlier today, and it was some some politician or someone in legislation in the UK, and he was giving like a speech or presentation about the type of surveillance that they have available, the high tech surveillance that they have. And he says it, like billions of sensors and smart cities will be able to, be able to detect everything, every thought. He says it in the speech too. I think he was like a prime minister or something like that. But anyway, yeah, he says it, and he's like, yeah, there's nowhere for anyone to hide, nothing for anyone to hide. There are billions of sensors, basically reading everything about you and da 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 da. And then shortly after watching that video, like probably like an hour or two or so after watching that video, all of a sudden I come across this other video where it looks like it's a news. It looks like a news segment where um I think it was in German. On top of that, it was either in German or Austrian. It was either in German or Austrian. And This, or it could have been Dutch. I'm not even sure. But this this guy, he was like a scientist or something like that. And in the beginning of the interview, um the reporter, she extends her hand to shake his hand. He shakes her hand, and then he says, oh well, she says something about it's being noted that people all over the world may need to be microchipped, but you're telling me that being microchip is no longer necessary to have a chip implanted into you. And then the guy says, "Well, when I just shook your hand, I basically just placed, thousands of um, nano sensors right onto your skin." And then he was like, even if you were to had washed your hands for 15 minutes, it you're still going to end up with more, just about as much, if not more, right after. And he's like going into details about how all, I mean, because I mean, think about it, like it's no longer it's well, it shouldn't, it's not, it's never really was a secret. They've been telling us in plain sight that they were going to spray these particles in the air, claiming that they were using the particles to basically block out the sun, when in all actuality, they're spraying these particles to charge or power the nanotechnology. And then as the nanotechnology float down to the earth, we inhale it, we absorb it. Um, Animals are inhaling it, they're absorbing it. That's one of the reasons why, most of the important insects are dying. That's why most of the animals are dying. Um, that's why most animals are losing their navigational um, capabilities too. There, because most animals have a natural They have more access to like this electromagnetic compass that's in their brain that helps them, navigate and stuff like that. And even that's being disrupted because they're being poisoned by our, need for this nanotechnology. And and then the I think the prime minister, he was like, I'm not sure if it was a prime minister. I remember in the video it said something Johnson, and it said something Johnson in the UK, because he was like standing at a podium and he was talking to like a parliament or something like that, like a large room of people. But anyway, and like right now, I'm feeling like here, here, yeah, this whole spot right here. It's like it's like this. It's probably no thicker than like two strands of hair, two strands of my hair, and it's like someone is taking a laser beam and they're literally like sending energy, like the energy, the light itself is probably just the light, but it's the energy, the amplification of the energy within that light frequency. That's what's causing the burning. Because if you look at my chest from the surface, you wouldn't see any burns. But if you have like a fMRI scanner, or some other type of scanner that can look at the tissues and the cells of the body, you'll probably see that, my cells and tissues are being like burnt and seared through. Like, and right now there's this weird, well, that it's a frequency, and it's on the back of my neck, towards the base where the skull and the spine are supposed to meet. And like when I and there's a lot of like this gaseous pressure, and it builds up inside the skull. And when I exhale, I can feel the release come from the side here, and then I feel the release come through the back of the head, and then it goes out my mouth. Now, all these it amazes me though, because it's like all these different, technology companies out here making all these products. Everyone's so rapidly producing new technology, new devices. They're rapidly producing this, growing this, doing this, building this. Self what is it? Not even self assembling, but self reproducing robots, like robots, they can that can actually reproduce themselves. That's wild. So I'm just like, they got all these things that's happening so fast, but nothing is being regulated. Nothing is being, you know, monitored to make sure no one is abusing it. And then at the end of the day, it's like they don't. No one really cares if it's being abused. They just want to. They just want the data. They just want to see the results. How far can you push this technology? What can you really do with this technology? So, of course, you need people. If you really want to test out the technology, you got to find people with no moral conduct. You got to find people with no type of sense of human decency within them, because in order to be able in order to truly weaponize something like this, you have to find people that really don't give no, like, they have no type of sympathy. They like pain and like grief and despair and everything like that. They're numb to all of that. Why? Because they to the transhumanists and to everyone who's so busy trying to develop their technologies and figure out more ways to create new weapons, they're numb. They're numb. They're numb. They are numb to actually learning, or they're numb to feeling, really. When you think about it, the only thing that they will truly feel is anger or hatred or jealousy, or low, anything that's low vibrational, basically. Because to stay at a high vibration for too long, that would just that would be unbearable. Because anytime that you're living in a high vibration, it's so much harder to stay up there. Anyone that's living in like peace, that's a vibrational level. Enlightenment, love, even neutrality. Even neutral is a vibration level. But like those higher, states of energy being, they're so much harder to live in. So I mean, imagine imagine giving someone who thinks that they're underserved, or they're under, you know cared for, access to something that would basically turn them into like probably the greatest bully in the world, and then to be able to be quote unquote undetected. That's a recipe for disaster. Because I mean, if you think about what they're going after right now, when you think about what, at least, and it's so weird because every time I think about it and I look at other countries, I feel like other countries targeting and electronic harassment and the abuse of neural technologies is a little bit more in the forefront, or it's actually on the front of people's minds, or there's a much bigger protest, or there's a lot more awareness of it and a lot more pushback of it in other countries than there are in the United States. To be honest, the United States is always, pretty slow, I would think, when it comes to like a general population of people, actually banding together to just be like, no, the government is on some bull. This is wrong. And whoever's working within the government that's allowing this stuff to happen, something has to be done with them. And I've been feeling like that for quite some time now, that like the United States is pretty slow when it comes to actually like doing some real, like, trying to end corruption. in high places. You know, but I guess that's the thing about the U.S. When you realize that the United States is basically a corporation that's more owned by secret societies than people in general, um, it's kind of one of those things that, like, at some point, that's when you start to realize, hmm, you have to defeat this in a whole totally different way. If you try to play it by their, if you try to play solely by their rules, it's going to be harder to do it that way. Or if you try to lean on your own understanding of everything, it's going to be harder that way. This is exactly why I keep God close, because um, if I don't have God close to me, then everything else seems like it spells out, demoralization or defeat, or it seems like, well, there's nothing you can do. But I always believe there's something you can do. Sometimes, if you think about if you understand how God works, or you understand how sometimes time, patience, and um, just continuing being of a student of life in general, you may be surprised in the future that you actually may have a either small or large part in the final solution to the problem that everyone is having. But you won't be able to find out if you just quit. So I can't find myself quitting, regardless of who leaves me, who stays. You know, you know, it's interesting because, like, before my targeting, I was really just trying to figure out, okay, what career I want to get into, because you know, um, I'm like, I'll be 34 this year, um, and I'm just like, well, I need to get something going because I want to be able to, you know, start a family one day, whatever. But then when the quarantine happened and I had to basically change gears, from being employed to not working, then the targeting happened while I wasn't working. Then, after the harassment, and they were trying to force me to become a cop, I said, well, I need to find a job, you know, that would be relatively safe, but also, I would say beneficial and therapeutic, beneficial in, many different ways. And I had got the job that I have now. I realized that, for the most part, um, that I done lost my train of thought. I'm glad I got that most recent brain MRI, because with the amount of attacks that they've been doing on my head, and like these last 2 days, I've been feeling a lot of like heavy impact on my brain. Um, my memory is just like, right now, what it feels like is my brain is like the entire cavity of my skull, of like my cranium. It feels like it's being compressed with like as if like someone put like a tube inside my cranium and just started filling it up with like gas or something like that. But I know, like, whenever I use like my like a qigong method to try to pull it out, I feel like a lot of connections being made, like almost, it's like um imagine feeling like you have, like there's like strings or spider webs that's like attaching itself to your brain, and then there's things being like funneled or transmitted or transferred through, or it's like, or imagine having like a bunch of tubes like connected to your brain and your cranium, and it's stuff going in. It's a whole bunch of like things, whether it's gas or energy or something, and they're like going in, and then it's like filling it up, right? Now, as I'm like using my hand, I'm trying to increase the magnetism of my hand to try to draw out at least the energy from the frequencies that they're transmitting into my skull. Now, New York City is probably one of the worst places to be when you're being targeted, because New York City is basically considered a smart city. It has public Wi-Fi damn near everywhere, so you're never gonna walk anywhere without crossing into a field of you know signals, frequencies, whatever. Then there's so many of these light posts out here that have these multi-spot radar sensors on them, so they're using those. Then people actually have mobile devices, or I don't know if they have like an antenna or like a amp combined with some other type of equipment where they can basically point or direct energy towards a target that's like in a nearby apartment or room, or yeah. Then yeah, because like right now it's coming at an angle. It's coming at an angle. Like it's going into the heart, but it's coming at an angle. Yeah, it's coming at an angle, and it feels as if like someone took like a just a like a small little like metal like rod or something, like something probably no bigger than a couple of like centimeters, like a centimeter, not even a centimeter, like a nanometer. I don't even know, but maybe a millimeter. Um, and they're like it's like they left it on like a flame, and then now they're just like sticking it into the chest, and it's like searing through. But the crazy part is like there's no marking on the outside, but on the inside that they're burning through your tissue. They're heating up your tissue, not really burning through, but they're heating up the tissue. So I don't know. I know there is a organization here in New York on West 34th Street. I keep telling myself I'm gonna try to make a plan to go there. There's an organization here in New York that's supposed to be for um, human rights, and I guess also against direct energy weapons. Yeah, it's supposed to be against direct energy weapons or the misuse of direct energy weapons. And yeah, I was gonna try to go to their office and see if I could talk to someone there, cause I mean, I'm always optimistic, but I know I can't control whether I live or die. But the one thing I don't want to do is end up dying and realize I didn't have no effect against anything that has happened. Like I'm like, even if I could just awaken at least 10 people and at least get them to know what's happening, or if they were suffering through any of this, and they came across my information and I helped fill in the blanks so that they were no longer in so much fear of what was going on in their life, That's perfect for me because then at least I made someone I helped someone find peace. You know, even if I can't bring the system down myself, if I could help someone find peace, then that's I'll take that. I think God will respect the fact that I take that. You know. But anyway, yeah. Uh, it's crazy because as time passes, I'm feeling my motor functions, my memory. I'm feeling so much of my cognitive functioning like deteriorate. Now I've heard the V2K say a few times he's a vegetable or something like that. Or, they'll say things like he's not gonna make it. He's not gonna be here that long. So yeah, New York City been gunning for me for a while. You know, but hey, I'm no bigger than anybody else across and just being targeted all across the world. All I'm trying to do is all I was trying to do is be left alone. That's all I was trying to do is be left alone. But I guess this is the way God was gonna choose for me to be left alone. I should have been more specific. But I know I'm not necessarily alone. I know I still have I know if all else, if the life that I know it at least for right now, I already know my old life is pretty much gone. Gang stalking pretty much made sure of that. Um, if my life changes any more after this, then I think probably after this I'll probably just end up, you know, really honestly, I'd probably really just unplug myself from this society in general. I really would. Um but like I said, I'm not moving anywhere while my mom is still here in New York. So I'm not. And I know it doesn't make sense to try to run anywhere unless you're gonna go somewhere where there's basically little to no electricity. That's the only way I could think of that you would actually find some relief from targeting. You gotta basically be somewhere where there's hardly any electricity, because that's what they're using. They're using all electricity against you. All anything that is producing an electromagnetic field. You know, they're using the radiation from that to basically attack you. Our cell phones is probably the most the our cell phones is probably the most constant um thing around us that actually is being used as a weapon against us. Whether it's being used, whether the sensors are being used to harm our cells in our body, or the sensors are being used to extract information or to download or transmit information into the brain. You know, and it's not hard to find this information. I mean, is this information is it's not like classified or anything. You just gotta read in between the lines, because think about it like this: this technology, this technology that they're using against us, it's not hidden. It's in plain sight. All of this technology is being published, is being published, reviewed, and shared amongst the medical, tech, and military industries. Um, and much of it usually has something to deal with healing a disease or making life easier for someone who has a disability. Those are always usually the two leading reasons why technology keeps advancing, right? But here's the thing though, every technology that's used to heal can be weaponized. Just like, well, anything that can be used to heal can be weaponized if you actually look for ways to weaponize it. And that's when you realize, this isn't necessarily about flesh and blood. This has always been about principalities. It's always been about power, control, greed. This ain't it really ain't even have nothing to it really ain't even have nothing to do with money, because the elite and the wealthy have probably been elite and wealthy for a very, 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 very long time. And well, I believe there's a lot more that they're getting from out of all of this than just money. It's definitely some entertainment. It's definitely entertainment. Um, Many of the it's definitely not unknown that many elites, many elites and wealthy people, you have so much money, you can only do but so many things before you start to get bored. So then eventually, what do you end up doing? You probably get into some weird things. And if you look at the entertainment industry and anybody who's like speaking up about, you know, the shady things going on in the entertainment industry, what I'm saying ain't that far off. There's so many celebrities out there that's talking about the weird stuff going on in the entertainment industry, whether it's in film or TV, music, doesn't even matter. But yeah, they've been increasing the amount of frequencies and sensors that's all over my body, but it's all right though, because I know at some point everyone who had a hand in the destruction of my life, cursed be he who smiteth thy neighbor in secrecy, and all the people shall say amen. And cursed be he who seeks reward for the shedding of innocent blood, and all the people shall say amen. So that's why I always believe that when God said the meek shall inherit the earth, that's one of the reasons why after, you know, the Egyptians and Mayans and hell, even the Moors and all these other so-called advanced civilizations of people, that's why we're digging them up. And then those who actually survived most of the catastrophic events, what were they? They were survivalists. They were meek people. They were people who weren't necessarily a part of that advanced civilization. They were the ones who basically lived off of the land. They were foragers. They were human beings. They were being exactly what they were meant to be. That's why they were able to. They were the ones who eventually, you know, got that God message to leave that land and go somewhere high or go somewhere away from where everyone else is at. So then when things start to go down, they were somewhere else while it was happening over there. Like I think about sometimes how like I've always felt like I've been just you know watched over, not like surveillance watched over, but like blessed watched over. In the throughout my life, I've always had opportunity to probably do more wrong than right, but for whatever reason, I don't know. I think I always just had something in me that made me see that like if I do this wrong thing, the rewards just don't seem as favorable as me not doing it. So I don't know, but I never really judged anybody for what they do, as long as you wasn't like bullying somebody, or beating on or disrespecting women, um, not violating children, and not violating people that have less than you. As long as you weren't doing any of that, then I had no problems with you. I grew up in, like, I wasn't in the streets, but I grew up on these streets too. So I'm just like, it is what it is. So, but yeah, I don't know how long this body gonna make it out for, but I just keep thinking at some point the dam is gonna break open, because there's already legislation happening. There's legal moves being made all over the world against this stuff. It's just about finding people in positions of power, or some type of power, who are not going to be afraid to expose or be the light needed to shine over all the darkness that's happening. But yeah. So I just wanted to let y'all know I'm cool. I've already accepted the fact that TI's. I mean, look, we some of us die, some of us live out our experience for like 20 years or so. But you can't really worry about that. You can't control whether you live or die. So you just go with it. You just go with it, and you try to find everything you can to reduce the pain or reduce the stress, maintain your peace, master your peace. You just try to do everything you can until some type of unified front can be made, or some glorious moment is created where we can all stand together and then actually bring an end to such system. But the only way to truly bring an end to such a system is we have to have people in certain positions who are not afraid to actually risk their lives to do the right thing. Either that, or we're just basically going to wait for the long-term side effects of all this technology being in people's bodies to take its effect. And then those of us who are detoxing the way, detoxing and doing our best to try to take care of our bodies and whatnot, we just eventually might just outlive them. Because the human body isn't meant to absorb all the energy that they're basically putting in themselves every day, you know. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, mm, it's like on the cerebellum, right in the back of the head, right? It's like someone drew, or like there's like I don't know. It just feels like having hundreds and thousands of like strands of like energy just connected all over my brain and up and down my spinal cord, and everything is being heated up, and like gas or something is filling up inside the skull. It doesn't necessarily hurt per se, but it's just a lot of pressure. It's like, And the part that gets me is knowing that most people who actually take part in the gang stalking, I know, I know that they don't actually believe. They really believe that there's going to be a part of the future that these elites are trying to create. I, at least for the most part, understand that everyone will have their role towards the big picture. But as the elites get their way and they get closer to the big picture, portions of people are going to have to be cut off and probably well, exterminated, really. Because I mean, they can't continue to have the rule that they have with, nine, like, what is it, 7.8 to 8.5 billion people on this planet, including the ones who are handling the technology. They got to start cutting ties. I mean, the Georgia Guidestone said what, 500 million? I don't see a lot of people of color being a part of that 500 million. I'm sorry. If that's the number that the secret society is aiming for, 500 million people on Earth in general, I don't see a lot of people of color being a part of that 500 million. To be honest, because most secret societies are rooted in Luciferianism, and Luciferianism definitely uses race as a dividing tool, and many elites do not favor non-European whites or whatever the case. So, you know, then again, you got a lot of very wealthy Middle East. I don't know. It depends. It depends on your status, I guess, and how useful you would be to serving them, because that's what it all really boils down to at the end of the day. Is, this system built is created to find someone to serve a purpose for you. And what they're doing is basically picking and choosing people who they deem to be less than them to basically serve them for the rest of their entire life. This is the new slavery. It's the new slavery. If I would have became a cop, then they would have been basically using me to do whatever deeds that they want me to do. I couldn't be able to do my job right because if I felt like somebody needed to go to jail or whatever, they'd probably tap in there and just be like, nah, leave him alone because, he's a part of so and so. Yeah, so obviously I'm not even going to make the situation worse by becoming a cop. You know, I'm trying to keep my conscience clear. But anyway, I'm getting off this. It's time for me to go to bed. Gotta be up in a few hours. And hopefully I can get some of these damn frequencies off my neck. Because I feel like they're trying to make it so that and I don't know, it's almost like it's like like I don't know, the top 4 or 5 vertebrae in the back of my neck. I don't know if they're heating the cartilage in between the vertebrae or something, but every time I try to turn my neck, if something feels weird within the spine. And it's like, you see where my hand is at, like the back of my hand, where it's pointing, like where my thumb and index finger is at, it's pointing at an angle, like where the frequency is coming from is coming at an angle. And as I move it, as I'm following the magnetism of the frequency, the pressure goes down in my head, and then it's like, yeah, it's like holding it in this position. It's like right now I have a frequency in my hand, right? And as I move my head and I'm exhaling out my mouth, matter of fact, you could probably even hear, you could probably even hear the gas and the pressure relieving in my head. If you could hear those sounds of like popping and stuff like that, I don't think that's supposed to be like that, because you're supposed to have fluid inside of your skull. I mean, not a lot of fluid, but it should be enough in there to at least make you feel like, well, like there's some fluid in it. But no, that sound is like dryness. Like that sound that's produced, that's the sound of like something that's supposed to be moist, but like something that was wet, but it's on a surface, and then you flick it up. Like, I don't know, it's like the sound of like when you are like about to season the inside of a turkey, so you lift the skin up, and then you're like, you're rubbing like your herbs or your seasonings on the meat, and then you flap the skin back on the meat. That's what it sounds like. I don't know, but at the end of the day, everyone that's a part of this whole system is going to die too. They may not die before me, but everybody is going to die too. And the best part about it, none of them have a clean heart. None of them have a good heart. All of them have blood on their hands. They're all human traffickers. They're all thieves. Not even like stealing just because they're actually like hungry, or they're actually starving or anything like that. They're doing it because they know that they can get away with it, or they can intimidate people from ever, talking about them. They're not even like Robin Hood thieves. They're just regular thieves, you know. And then they're stealing your thoughts, your memories, your ideas. They're stealing you. Either way, um there's an energy shift happening in the universe, so just go ahead and take that for what it is. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to sleep. Um I'll try to keep y'all posted on certain things. Um, yeah, I think I am single again, but I told myself after this one, this second time around, I was like, I don't know if I could do a third. You know, so I was like, if we don't work out now, then yeah, I might as well just not consider it if the opportunity arises again in the future. 'Cause I used to always tell myself, look, when I come up, I'm not trying to hear from people who basically left me because they thought I wasn't this, or I wasn't that, or whatever the case may be. All I'm gonna say is people are in our lives for seasons and then they're gone. There's a lot of truth to that. All right. Take life one breath, one thought, one step, one day at a time. Peace.